Well, in the first series after the All-Star break, the Tigers play competitive baseball, but do drop a weekend set to the Phillies. We'll talk about that and more all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Monday, August 4th, 2025. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. Go to 5hourenergy.com today and use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off of your order. Only valid through September 30th. Order transfusion-flavored 5-hour energy shots today. Welcome in, everyone. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend to kick off the month of August here. The Tigers start August off with a series loss at Philly to the Phillies. I was trying to play on words there. Whatever. It's not even close to that. Lose 2 of 3. Competitive baseball, which I think we'll talk about a little bit later. I'm really not too upset with how this series went. Obviously, you lose 2 of 3. That's never a great thing. I'm not celebrating either. But the 3 games, you have a 5-4 loss on Friday, a 7-5 win on Saturday, and then a 2-0 loss on Sunday. The Tigers are now 65-48 on the season, while Philly improves to 63-48 on the season. So, yeah, as I was kind of alluding to there, first thought, competitive weekend all around. I feel like I've already said competitive like 6 times in 2 minutes, so I apologize. But this was a series on the road against a really good team, and you probably should have won. Now, you didn't. And you still, you got to make your adjustments and fix that going forward. Figure out how to turn those losses into wins going forward. On Friday, you lost, I want to say solely because of the bullpen, but you lost Friday because of the bullpen. Saturday was a big win. Offense showed up against one of the best pitchers on the planet, and Tarik Skubal, the best pitcher on the planet, looked great. And then on Sunday, the offense just gets diced. But you know what? I'm not losing sleep over that either. Like, Sanchez is incredible. Duran is incredible. I'm really not too upset over Sunday's loss either. So I think the real frustration with this weekend, if there is one that you want to highlight, is the fact that the bullpen struggled the whole weekend. Holton was the only pitcher to pitch in relief. On Sunday, he gave up a run. On Friday, you again almost lost that entire game because of the bullpen. And then on Saturday, even, that should have been a 4-run victory, and instead was a 2-run victory. So, the optics of you have an underwhelming trade deadline, and then the first series after the deadline, the bullpen doesn't look good. Like, that sucks. And if I feel like if you were, Captain Obvious, revisionist history, whatever, if you were more aggressive at the deadline, maybe it wouldn't have gone the way that it did. But that being said, Finnegan was fantastic this weekend too. That's a new addition in his Tigers debut. He was phenomenal. And they were in every game they played against one of the better rosters in all of baseball. So let's start with what went wrong. The bullpen. If that wasn't painfully obvious so far, I was very unimpressed by the Detroit Tigers bullpen. Yeah, again, aside from just the optics of Friday, first game after the deadline, Will Vest and Tyler Holton twice this weekend did not look good. Vest got hit around Friday and Saturday. Holton gets hit around Friday and Sunday. Not hit around, but give up a bomb to Kyle Schwarber on Sunday. You can't do much about that. Okay. I can complain and cry and whine about the bullpen and about the lack of aggressiveness at the trade deadline all I want. Those guys were going to be in the bullpen no matter what, and we're going to be pitching in high leverage no matter what. So that's kind of not 100% correlated, I guess I'll say, to what the Tigers did or did not do on Friday's deadline or Thursday, whatever day it was. Deadline, the 31st. So, yeah, like that's not really on anybody except the guys on the mound. They didn't do very well, and that was a rough start to the weekend. Hannafy being used in the 8th inning on Friday, I think makes it fair for me to say I wish we got more at the deadline. Because I don't think Hannafy should be now, based on the guys that you do have. That was the counter, was like, oh, well, look at his stats in that situation. Yeah, I love numbers. Yes. Based on the players that are on your roster, I don't hate going to him there. I wish there were better players on my roster. Yes, correct. We're all in agreement. Obviously, that's not true. But Hannafy in high leverage in the 8th inning, a day after the trade deadline, after an off day, so presumably pretty much everybody's available, I think really highlights the shallowness of the bullpen. Heck, Hannafy was optioned on Sunday. Now, some of that has to do with, how many options some players in the pen had remaining, but the fact of the matter is he was low enough on the totem pole and in the pecking order, he got optioned on Sunday. And he was pitching like arguably the most high leverage situation of the game on Friday. Now, Finnegan would have pitched the 9th inning for sure on Friday had they had a lead. But if this bullpen was deeper, that game could have gone way differently. Now, again, that's the if, ands, and buts, whatever. But I do think it is telling that 24 hours after the trade deadline, none of the new additions were used in a high leverage game on the road. Not a single one. They arrived in plenty of time. They didn't show up mid-game. And your opponent used someone they traded at the deadline twice this weekend, including Friday. Again, Philly is really good. Our bullpen has not been very good for a while now, like a couple of months, 2-month sample of this being not a very good bullpen. Let's use the rest of this season to figure out who we trust and who we don't. August is pretty easy. You also have a giant divisional lead. It'll be okay. I'm not trying to again, be like overly dramatic maybe, but I think that, again, just the optics of the weekend probably aren't great from the fan base's perspective. Let's talk about something other than the bullpen, okay? We guessed the whole first segment talking about that. Let's move on and talk about bigger and better things. Not bitter, bigger and better things. We'll do that right after this. First, though, got to talk to you all about our friends over at 5-Hour Energy. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavors of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. So whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. There's a lot of fun to happen on the golf course, okay? A lot. And I think that this is a great way to, you want to turn 18 holes into 36 or 9 into 18. This is the way to do it. So if you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the number 5, hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF, all one word, to receive 20% off of your order. This offer is only valid through September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. So whether you're meeting up with friends or spending a day out on the course, the energizing boost you need to power through is 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Order transfusion-flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we, of course, will be back tomorrow recapping Game 1 against the Minnesota Twins. We'll preview that series and kind of the whole month of August here at the end of the show. Want to talk about Riley Greene and the side of things that what went wrong on the weekend. 0 for 13 this weekend, Riley Greene was. Yeah, I mean, we've highlighted his inconsistencies ad nauseum throughout the season. I think pretty much everybody that follows the team is aware of kind of the roller coaster ride that has been the 2025 campaign for Riley Greene. This weekend, the thing that I am, because he'll find it and he'll be really good. His numbers, even with these cold streaks that he's gone on, are still so fantastic. He's talented. He's young. I'm not worried about him long term. The one thing that, and everybody always says strikeouts, but like the one thing that I think is worrying me this year is that he does not look competitive against left-handed pitching. And those numbers are going down, down, and down. They are getting worse as the season goes along. And that is something that very, very desperately needs to be fixed, because this guy, with how good of production he can provide offensively over long periods of time, you cannot afford to have him like turn into a platoon hitter. Now, he's not OPSing like 300 against lefties. I'm not trying to make it sound like he's unplayable, but it is a staggering difference. And so I think that that's something that needs to be addressed, but he probably has a lot on his plate. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed with Riley Greene so far in 2025. And then, yeah, like you got shut out on Sunday. You're not going to win too many ball games with that mindset. Mindset's far too over the top. With that level of production, I'm sure they were not going up to the plate trying to get shut out. That's unfair of me. But yeah, like as I said at the top of the show, Sanchez and Duran being the only two pitchers to throw on Sunday, there's a lot of teams that would not score too many runs off of that duo in 9 innings. So I'm not losing sleep over it. What went right? The starting pitching was absolutely freaking phenomenal this weekend. Every single starting pitcher was amazing and left the ball game giving the Tigers a chance to win. And I think, well, Morton's the only one that even left the ball game without a lead, and that was a one-run game. So Jack Flaherty, 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts. His ERA is now down to 4.36. That is incredible considering like a month ago, it was about 5. His last few outings have been great steps in the right direction. I thought in this one, the pitch mix was fantastic. So shout out to the catching room as always. But I think that the biggest thing for me in this ball game was fastball command, right? We talk so much about how valuable his breaking stuff is, the slider, the curveball, whatever, and how in his career, there is almost a direct correlation between his really good years and how effective his fastball is over the course of a season. Now, some of that is self-explanatory. The pitch you throw the most being good means you're probably going to be good. The pitch you throw the most not being good, odds are decent that you're going to have more of a rough year. But I think that earlier in the season, he was struggling with fastball command. And at one point in, May, June, he couldn't even find the strike zone, like period, really with it. And if he did, it was over the heart of the plate. Lately, that has been a different story. He is dotting that specifically glove side low, absolute chef's kiss. He is to righties going low and away like that because he can just tunnel it then with the slider or the curveball. They all look the same. All 3 of those pitches are going to look the exact same out of the hand. And he can get you, kind of slow everything down and get you on your front foot with that slider. And then at the end of the count, just hit you with, 94 mile an hour fastball low and away, and you're not going to do anything with it. In fact, you're not even going to swing at it because you're going to assume that it's the breaking ball and going to dive into the dirt rather. So I thought he was fantastic. Tarik Skubal, amazing as well. 7 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, no walks, 10 strikeouts. His ERA is up to 2.18, I say in quotes. And the 3 earned runs, I mean, he got tagged at the very end of the outing, but a couple of bad pitches, whatever. Like he had like 8 strikeouts through 4 or something ridiculous. Like he was locked in. That's one of the better lineups in all of baseball, and he was fantastic. Also, we are no longer on paternity lists watch, as Tarik Skubal does welcome his second child with his wife. Congratulations to the Skubal family as they do that. And now, again, selfishly and admittedly selfishly, we don't have to worry about, like, is he going to miss this start? Is this the day it's going to happen? Whatever, we just put it behind us. Congratulations to him and his family. And we can have him every 5th day for this playoff push here. And then Charlie Morton. I mean, with Skubal, like, what else do you really even want me to say? He throws 100. He has the best changeup in the sport. He's really good, and nobody can hit him. There you go. Charlie Morton was fantastic in his Tigers debut. 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. His ERA goes down to 5.2 on the season. He looked great, man. And like, the thing about Charlie Morton is that he can still spin it. Okay, there is still a lot of spin in that arm. You see the breaking stuff. You see the changeup. There's still a lot of deception there. And on top of that, he's a 41-year-old that can still hit 96, like, consistently. Not, once in a blue moon or once an outing. He's sitting 95 that entire start on Sunday night. Fantastic. So, for as much as there was frustration about the deadline and there was, again, maybe like tensions were a little bit high with the fan base, and certainly I voiced my displeasure on Friday, you had Kyle Finnegan and Charlie Morton both putting in fantastic performances this weekend, both obviously additions to the Tigers. Finnegan probably had the performance of the weekend, to be honest with you. 1 1/3 innings pitch of perfect baseball with 1 strikeout on Saturday. His ERA goes down to 4.24. He entered this ball game with men on in the 8th inning of a close ball game, a 2-run ball game, gets out of the 8th, stays in the game, and then pitches a perfect 9th. That is a gutsy debut, team debut, obviously, for Kyle Finnegan. And I mean, with how Will Vest, I just said West, I just combined his first and last name. With how Will Vest has pitched lately, I think there's a real chance that we're looking at Kyle Finnegan as not only like one of the high leverage relievers for this team, but maybe the highest leverage reliever for this team. It's probably going to be some sort of a committee system because AJ Hinch and, situational, whatever, but he looked really good. He's been really good for 2 years now. Good addition and had a great weekend. Offensively, Gleyber Torres had a really solid weekend. We've been saying that all year. Colton Keith, Saturday goes 3 for 3 with an absolute moonshot off of Zach Wheeler. That's not just any home run. Like the home run he hit earlier in the year where the ball was like at his eyes and he went opposite way and hit. That's like, okay, that's not like a consistent thing. It's awesome that he can do that and he has that in the tank, but like that's probably not going to happen again for the rest of his career. The home run on Saturday was 96 miles an hour inside from Zach Wheeler, and he turned and burned on it. There has been so much discourse on this show, in articles from beat writers, etc. We have all talked about how he has struggled with velocity in his major league career so far. And that has been like one of the bigger things that is stopping him and has prevented him from taking that big leap into, borderline stardom that we thought he may have an opportunity or may have the ability to, rather. jump into when he was in the minor leagues. And those are the types of swings you look at and you go, okay, it's still in there. And he has obviously taken a lot of strides forward this year. His month of June was fantastic. His month of July took a little bit of a step back. And now he starts off August with a fantastic performance on Saturday. So the only frustration I had with Colt Keith wasn't anything to do with Colt Keith. It was the fact that they took him out when a lefty got on the mound. It drives me absolutely up a wall, man. It drives me nuts. I don't even complain about it with Kerry Carpenter anymore. He hasn't hit a lefty in like 3 years on a consistent basis. So if that's never going to happen, I'll live with it. I would still even like to see him get more. I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to stress out about that one anymore. It is what it is. Colt Keith has never been a platoon hitter in his professional career. He was better against lefties than righties in 2024. He hit them both relatively close to the same throughout the minor leagues. And now this year, he just doesn't get opportunities against lefties. It drives me mad, to be honest with you. But great performance. Kerry Carpenter, speak of the devil, was a standout this weekend as well. Had a home run on Saturday. And then Winfield Perez, honestly, just had a great all-around weekend. Was on base a lot. Had a couple of really nice defensive plays on Sunday as well. Going to be a big part of this team going forward if he can hit both righties and lefties at a similar clip. Being a switch hitter and all. So, okay, that's it for what went right and what went wrong. Let's talk stuff. We'll do that right after this. First, though, going to talk to y'all about our friends over at FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, whether you're all about baseball under the lights, like we are here, golf on the screen, or the green, rather, which makes far more sense, or high-stakes soccer action. FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I am a part of the action. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So open up the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, let's talk stuff. Not a ton to go over. Hannafy optioned, as I mentioned earlier in the show. That was to make room for Charlie Morton, and then Troy Melton goes from the rotation to the bullpen. I think your bullpen, like, pretty objectively looks better if Morton can be solid as a fifth rotation guy. Okay, if he can just be a solid, 4 to 4.5 even ERA type of starting pitcher back there, I really think that Melton has the opportunity to be incredible in the bullpen. And that was the whole motivation behind getting Charlie Morton. We talked about that on Friday. They want a 2-for-1 with this trade. They want to get somebody who's solid in their starting rotation, but also to improve their bullpen without having to trade for a high-end reliever that can throw 100. Melton can throw 100. We'll see how he does in the pen, but I think it's probably going to work out pretty darn well. Haven't seen him yet, though, in the bullpen. You got to give him still the 4 or 5 days from his last start. So we'll see if he gets some opportunities against the Twins. This really, just to put a bow on this series as a whole, and before we start looking ahead, like, this really wasn't devastating to me. Again, like, you went to Philly after the deadline and we're in every game. It's not a moral victory thing. Like, you dropped the series. You got to figure out what to do post deadline. You got to figure out what to do with this post deadline bullpen and what the pecking order of this post deadline bullpen is going to be going forward, because I'm not sure anybody, including the coaches, really have any idea of what that's going to look like come October at the present moment. But you won once and you had opportunities in every ball game. Yeah, so now it's about finding out, how to take advantage of those opportunities going forward. And the reason I say all of those things is because let's go over the month of August. Okay, I'm talking about the, huge division lead. You can tinker with some stuff in August and try to figure out what works and what doesn't. That's because your August schedule is incredibly easy. Now, I am very notoriously anti-schedule watching, okay, but that's more to do with the opposite of what we're about to do. We're looking at the schedule and talking about how easy it could be for the Tigers. I think that my frustration with schedule watching is when people look at it and go, wow, this is a really tough stretch. No good team does that. No good team in the history of sports has ever gone, well, we have a tough month or a tough couple of weeks here. Like, we might lose some games in the standings. No, you play the team across from you every single night for 9 innings and you try to win. That is what good competitive ball clubs do. I do not subscribe to schedule watching to figure out, where your tough stretches are. That's preposterous, and no good team has ever done it. When looking at it from the opposite lens, I think it gives you some opportunities to, again, try and kind of tinker with the bullpen and use some people in different situations to figure out who's your high leverage guy and who isn't. Philly, obviously, you just played that. Minnesota just sold their entire franchise. LA Angels, okay, bought at the deadline, but like LA Angels, the White Sox have actually been pretty solid since the trade deadline, or since the All-Star break, honestly, but are still the White Sox. The Twins again, who are still the Twins and have still sold their entire franchise. The Astros, going to be a really tough matchup. The Royals, round of 500 ball club as it stands right now. And they're the second best team that I've listed so far that we have yet to go. The Athletics, who are 15 games under 500 right now, have a decent offense and just have the worst pitching staff in baseball. And then you end with the Royals again. That's not that's not the toughest schedule in the world, man. That is a very winnable month. And so I think that you have, between the division lead you have and the schedule in August, I would really like to see, your hitters just get going on a consistent basis. We need Riley Greene to be better and be better against lefties. We need Spencer Torkelson to raise that OPS back up to the mid 800s instead of about 800. There's some other guys, obviously Andy Ibanez is back. You want to make sure he's going down the stretch. And then obviously, as I've already said a billion times, the bullpen. Really want, Will Vest, Tyler Holton to get their heads on straight and then obviously figure out how you're going to use the new additions the rest of the way. So, yeah, series preview, Twins, TBD against Casey Mize in game 1. Zebby Matthews, who's got an ERA over 5, against Chris Paddock in game 2. That'll be kind of funny. It's in Detroit. It's not at Minnesota, so the fans won't boo Chris Paddock, but you do have him against his old team, and then Simeon Woods Richardson against Jack Flaherty in the finale on Wednesday, and then a much needed off day on Thursday before playing LA as well. The Twins sold everything. You should absolutely win this series, if not sweep. They sold everybody except Buxton and Joe Ryan, and you don't face Joe Ryan. So yeah, you're probably going to be the favorite, especially at home, in all 3 of these ball games. Okay, thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we, of course, will be back tomorrow recapping game 1 against Minnesota. After you make us your first listen, make Locked On MLB Game Night over at the Locked On MLB YouTube channel your second listen. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. And I'll catch y'all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.